So, welcome everyone to this webinar about automated accessibility testing in practice. I suggest we wait 2 or 3 minutes because there's also an old link with the old webinar. And so just be patient, 2 or 3 minutes and we can start. Okay, so I think that we can start with the presentation. Gonna share my screen. Okay, there we are. So welcome again to webinar about automated accessibility tests, about the opportunities, but also about the limitations. First, for everyone who's new here, I'm very proud that I'm part of the biggest Swedish QA company, System Verification, that involves in test strategy, test management, test automation, development, AI, and many more subjects. And right at the moment, they're in 5 countries available. Something about me. I'm in IT business since 2001 in different roles, but always with a focus on quality. Yesterday was the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, a global UN awareness day established in 1992. Its purpose is to promote inclusion, accessibility, and equal participation of people with disabilities worldwide. The day highlights barriers, including digital barriers, and encourages organizations to design products and services that are accessible for everyone. So this aligns directly with today's topic. Before I'm gonna tell you something about the agenda. It would be great if questions could be written down and asked during the last quarter of the session, as I assume some of them will be answered naturally along the way. If you don't understand a term or technical term, feel free to ask. You can ask the question in the QA section. In the practical session, I will show you a little tool with a lot of open source. It's still in progress and just for demonstration purposes. It is far away from finished, but I think it can help your imagination what you can do. You can also vote for the top 3 videos, which I will show you from some practical implementations. I have done a lot of videos to skip the waiting time for you and for easy rewind and skip forward. Also, the backup plan is to show some more of the top voted videos if there are not much questions at the end. You will find the videos which you can vote on the QA section. And at the end, I will start voting with about 2 or 3 minutes voting time. So how's the structure? Structure is why, how, what, and next. And the what will be mainly in the practical part. So first question is why automate accessibility testing? Then we're gonna look on the scope and the focus of the session, also which is not in focus. We're talking about the use cases and the limitations. Then we're gonna talk about some implementations with CLI, container, and pipeline integration. Also about the interactive part with end-to-end implementations like Playwright, Selenium, and Cypress. And then we're going to talk about the commercial tools and their advantages. So then there's also talk about the best practices. And at the end, there's a conclusion and future where we also remember the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So the why. Why automate accessibility testing? There's 3 main topics. It's the frequency, the speed, and the awareness. It's hard to keep up with frequent releases in manual testing because manual accessibility testing takes, depending on the project and on the scope, a lot of time. When you got a lot of updates from the frameworks or updates from the software itself, you really need a lot of power for that. For the speed, you can get fast objective feedback from automated accessibility tests. And in my opinion, the most important part is the awareness. So it could encourage awareness and shared responsibility. I said could, not it's always a fact. So I said could. A little key takeaway or an idea. So automation scales awareness, but not empathy. About the scope, I'm gonna talk about automated accessibility testing in web. It's about the opportunities for early, continuous, and reproducible checks, and it's about practical examples. So that's the scope, but what is out of scope? What's very important? While digital accessibility principles are not detailed here, they form the foundation of everything automated. So we are not talking about every WCAG criteria in detail. We are not talking about, or we are not talking about much about manual testing. We're also not gonna talk about mobile apps, Office, documents, and PDFs because that's completely different. And we're also not gonna talk about accessibility basics and especially digital accessibility basics. Sometimes switch a little bit, but that's not the main scope here. So the idea here is that automation is technical focus and inclusion should be the bigger goal. So the use cases and limitations. So first we are talking about the strength. The strength is that you can implement really fast CI/CD integration. It's really easy extendable via some open source tools. Later you will see something like better reporting. And it's really good for regression and baseline checks. Because the weakness, you get just partial WCAG coverage. And you also get some false positives and negatives. And it's not for UI, UX or cognitive checks. And it doesn't replace human judgment. Something about an idea of CLI integration with Node. I'm talking about 3 tools today. I'm talking about Xcore, Pally, and Google Lighthouse. From Xcore, there's the best coverage, which you also see in the practical part. And Xcore, there's a really, really strong background because Xcore is developed by DQ Systems, and DQ Systems is a real big player in digital accessibility business. They got really amazing university and amazing tools, really amazing tools. But the problem with Xcore is you get JSON output or regular text output, and you need additional tools for reporting. Next tool, what I'm gonna talking about is Pally. So there's coverage is not as good as from Xcore, but some advantages are that they implemented the possibility of a simple before script. It's also CI/CD ready, and you get out of the box visual reporting. The last one here is Google Lighthouse. Google Lighthouse got the weakest coverage, but the focus here is not on accessibility. It's part of the Google Lighthouse framework. And so you get additional tests like search engine optimization, status, or performance tests. So each of these tools got advantages and disadvantages. And maybe you see a solution where you can see the results from those 3 in one tool. From the interactive part, you can implement X in Playwright, in Cypress, in Selenium, in TestCafe, and in some other frameworks. And it's really important that the difference from the CLI tools is here that you can test the interactive part. So you can maybe test Toasty or Alert when you type in something and click on the buttons. You can also provocate additional dynamics, and you also get tests for overlapping, which also can be a problem in digital accessibility right out of the box. It's also better for cross-browser testing, so you can test it automatically in Chrome, in Edge, in Firefox, in Safari, or other browsers. And it's really easy to use parallelization. So when you're using Cypress, you can use Cypress Cloud, or for an on-premise solution, sorry Cypress. In Playwright, it's built in, and you can also use some hacks like npx run many for the parallelization. Additional, you get GUI regression tests, end-to-end tests, and UX, QA, and accessibility here is centralized. So one part is when you already got one of these tools, maybe you can directly start with the implementation from X. Like in ITIL, you always learn that you should start where you are. So the commercial tools, the key takeaway or the idea is that commercial tools can save really a lot of time and problems. The little demonstration tool, which I'm gonna show you later, took some time to develop and still not finished. And here you get everything right out of the box from these tool vendors. There are a lot of tools out there, and I will talk about XMonitor, QFTest, and WebMate. So XMonitor is really interesting because it's a very, very, very large scope and really good reporting. So you can imagine that you see something like a heat map where are the biggest accessibility problems, and you also see a good trend. And you can scan a lot of websites parallel, because as you later see on my implementation, it took some time for a check, even when it's just 5, 6, or 7 sites. And you also got implementation of login, different logins, because in Pali, there are just a simple login possible. And here you get a lot of different options in XMonitor for checking. Another interesting tool is QFTest. QFTest is very interesting because the license model is very moderate. So you pay one time for the base and you get the license lifetime long. And it's also a floating license. And you get a lot of additional modules which you can buy for module-based testing, for test data generation, for mobile part, and it's really interesting all in one suite. Also very interesting is WebMate, where you can directly test on real devices. You get a broad integration and you get good combination of automated and manual testing in these parts. There are also some other tools out there, integrations from other cloud vendors here, but I want to focus on these 3. So something about the best practices. First, about people and process. As in some other parts in IT, it's good to start with a proof of concept. So like in every proof of concept, start small, define clear goals, and track effort from day one. Why you should track effort from day one? Because it's interesting when you want to make a return of investment calculation. And what can be a clear goal if you say the first goal is to check 10 web pages and just with the highest impact level. And later we can iterate and go on and look on the other impact levels. Very, very important is inclusion and collaboration. So include people with disabilities because they got really different view, really different angle on that. And you should also closely involve manual testers, developers, and LE specialists. It should be teamwork here. And also build shared responsibilities across roles, across the different roles. So also about the mindset, You should understand accessibility as a holistic process. Like in ITIL, it's very important to see the importance of the holistic process. You should promote the long-term advantage for everyone here, and you should ensure communication and continuous feedback loops. So accessibility is a process, not a project, like other aspects of quality itself, like security, user experience, and the same with quality itself. Then about the iteration and shift left. The iterative expansion, different ideas. When you get budget, maybe you can directly start with the commercial tools to avoid a lot of pain. Makes really easier start. But you can also say, oh, I'm gonna start local, and when it's running local, I can extend to pipelines, especially if there are pipelines already there. So continuous integration, like GitHub or GitLab. And you can also try to get familiar with the CLI and later expand to the GUI regression tests and end-to-end tests integration. But when you already got GUI regression tests, maybe you can also start here, because it's always good to start where you are right at the moment. Also very important, shift left. You can implement linters in your IDE, so you can get the checks before it will be landed in your repo. And it's also important in planning or design phases that you got digital accessibility in mind. And like in every automated test, it's essential to make automated checks reproducible and stable. Then something about the maturity. Grow from simple checks to full CI integration. Increase coverage step by step. So you can start with just a bunch of your websites and gonna increase the volume, and continuously improve the rule sets and reporting. Reporting is really important for communicate with the whole team, with the management. The conclusion and future. About the recap here. So situation, task, action, and result. So in really simple terms, the situation is that manual accessibility tests need time. The task is to reduce the time, and the action is implement automated accessibility test. The results are speed, coverage, and awareness. So you get faster feedback, better regression coverage, and awareness, because early awareness of accessibility issues. So while digital accessibility principles are not detailed here, they form the foundation of everything automated. So the idea is automation is a technical focus, inclusion remains the bigger goal, like in a slide before. So you can get easy quick wins when you start simple, get quick feedback and a partly clear presentation. And it's easily expandable in the scope. There are many options, like locally executions in pipeline or complete packages for easy installation, like Docker packages, or you can also build up Vagrant with Vagrant provisionized box for everyone. I also got videos for the voting in the QA section. So if you're interested later, just vote for it when I'm starting the voting. So big topic right at the moment is artificial intelligence. So you can also make additional checks with LLMs outside the regular tests. Why outside the regular tests? Because in X, some tests are really good covered, and you can save a lot of tokens if you're just trying to check the ones which can be automated with regular tools. And the commercial tool manufacturers have direct integrations the most. So for me personally, automated accessibility tests can spark more interest in digital accessibility. So for me, I took my first step in the field of digital accessibility very early. When creating my first websites about 1998, I quickly came into contact with inline alt elements and learned how important a clean structure is. Since I worked in various public authorities for many years, my involvement with accessibility became more formalized around 2002 with introduction of BTW 1.0. At the time, I worked in a state authority, and also BTW initially applied only to federal agencies. We were already exposed to its requirements. Quite early, I learned that certain adjustments made for accessibility also prove search engine optimization. However, the topic became truly fascinating for me when I discovered the possibility of automating digital accessibility testing. So during one project, our team conducted a user test at an education center for blind and visually impaired people that experienced significantly deepened my personal interest in digital accessibility and accessibility in general. As a result, I completed the CPA-CC certification, and starting in January, I will also begin offering sports activities for people with disabilities in my private capacity. So another idea is accessibility growth through collaboration. So that was the presentation. Now I'm gonna start with the practical part. Just must switch the screens here. Okay, first I'm gonna show you the demonstration tool. The website what I'm gonna test is from here, and there are some bad examples about accessibility. So I'm gonna open the website that you see what we will test. It's really good that you can also click here and see how it would look like when there are no accessibility issues, and you also get a report what are the problems here. Make a little bit, so I zoom in a little bit, and there's different subpages here, and in the tool I'm gonna test 2 of these. The idea here is to input one URL or more URL for batch testing. And then you can click on the run checks. And you see that there are 3 checks which will be made. The test was Xcore with Lighthouse and with Pelly. Took some time. but I've already done tests before, so you'll see maybe it should be run about 22 seconds here. Another option is to crawl a website. So I implemented the free tool Simple Crawler. So I click on the crawl process. And after about 16 seconds, you see here the results. So that are just the basic inputs here. But later, maybe we're gonna dive a little bit deeper in the advanced options here. Okay, after you get your scan, we switch to the results. I was building here a little result builder, and the first tool, what we're gonna look on the source result is here from Peli. So when I click here on this link, you see the report, which the HTML report, which came from Peli. You see some arrows, no warnings, some notices. You also see which principle, which success criteria is here involved. You also see the code part where the problem's source. And the idea is that you can test more websites and you can see the errors, warnings, and notices here. That was Peli. The next thing that I'm going to show you is Google Lighthouse. I'm going to show you the original Google Lighthouse HTML. Here, it's the same when you're in Chrome browser, and when you hit in the Chrome browser the developer tools, here with F12, you can generate a Google Lighthouse report here. You can also say, oh, it's from mobile view or from desktop view. You can also check the different categories, and when you click on Analyze, that's the result that you get, and the CLI tool produces the same, like that what every web developer already know. When you got something like this, you can check multiple websites at once, and you can also see the gorgeous here, right? Also, it's possible for Peli and Lighthouse to see the JSON, the raw data here. And most interesting part here is the X implementation. In the X implementation, you see the test that passes, you see the violations, and you see the nodes. The nodes means on how many places in the codes are the violations. And here you see the impact level for critical, serious, moderate, and minor. So when you remember, good strategy is to start first with the highest impact levels here. When I click on the report, I get something like this. So the raw data is JSON, and I formatted it in HTML. And you also see, like in Google Lighthouse, the screenshots where the sections are, and also the different nodes where the report is. And also the impact level here and which laws are affected by this, like the European Accessibility Act for us in Europe, but also other laws like Section 508 for the USA. Okay. Also, when you zoom a little bit out here, you also see a little navigation there where you can click. And another thing what I'm gonna show you is you can also implement some graphics. As you see, I implement also some patterns. That's just not color, also patterns for the people with impaired vision. And what could be really interesting is when you try to calculate the effort here, that's just sample data, because every criteria got some key drivers. Key driver maybe for the first one is how many images and icons are on the website. And after that, you can go to a little bit more detailed view. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, where you get every criteria here, and you will see if it's passed or failed, and or if it's passed and failed and still need a manual review. And zoom out a little bit so that you also see it on a smaller screen. And the idea is bringing together the manual testers and the test automation engineers here. And what you can also do is when something is not fully covered here, you can maybe implement AI scanning check just about that one criteria, but you must be aware what comes back because there are also different opinions from different digital accessibility consultants if you should use a strict way or if you should use a pragmatic way for interpreting some of these criteria. So you should always talk with an accessibility consultant about the results here. Next idea here is that the coverage itself. So I'm also making a little helper site here. Can also disable here the patterns. And you see from Xcore how many criteria are fully automated and how many are automated and still need manual review. And that's why I'm gonna say that you just get some coverage. You don't get everything here. The good thing is that the tests are evolving. You see from Xcore that they implemented more and more automated tests over the time. And as you see here from Google Lighthouse, from the source, it wasn't really clear what is really safe and what's not. So I'm gonna say everything here should be manually reviewed. And the sources here, what I'm gonna use was here from Xcore. There's from the GitHub repository a rule set. And here you got the rule with the name, the impact level, some texts which are really interesting, like which criteria is involved from WCHE here 4.1.2. That means 4.1.2, and if it needs a review or not. So that's my source here for X. For Lighthouse, you can look in the official documentation here from Google. I'll link it there. And from Peli, you see here the official code sniffer documentation, because Peli regularly uses code sniffer. You can switch to X, but I haven't done it right at the moment. And that's a way how you can show the coverage here. And as you see here, Xcore, Lighthouse, and Peli, every criteria here needs a review. Some don't need a review here. And that what is really important, that you bringing together the automated and manual part here. Okay, that is something about the tool. Now I'm gonna stop sharing here. Okay, it doesn't work. Just one moment. Stop sharing, okay. And now I'm gonna open the poll where you can vote which videos you want to see. Just one moment, you get 3 minutes. Okay, I'm already seeing some results. One more minute. Okay, 30 seconds. Three, two, one. Okay, I'm gonna reveal the answers. Do we see the answers? Okay. So the top vote here is the Playwright with X integration. That was video 3. Then the next one is here with 20% the Dockerized Peli and Lighthouse. Docker and Lighthouse 2.1. And the third one here is accessibility AI scanner integration from a GitHub repo. Okay. So am I right here? Yes. And the third ones was 10. Let's write it down if there's enough time. 2, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 1. Okay. So I'm gonna unpublish. So I will start the videos here. Starting with 3.3. Just a moment. Send the video to the other screen. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna share. Take some time. Okay. Hope you're gonna see it. That here is the repo. In the repo, I got a JSON file with some URLs. You can just change the URLs here. Skipping a little bit forward. Then we're gonna look directly in the code from the playwright test. And here is an iteration over the URL list. Here you can filter from different WCAG levels, or you can also filter for different impact levels. And the main tests are in the builder section. Just look, let me scroll a little bit. From the X builder, and the X builder is the part which starts the test here, and how it will look like in the pipeline. I changed the pipeline that you can manually override these URL here. So you can just trigger the pipeline without changing the URL file. So you can directly pass it in here. And as you see, you can also change the impact level here directly before running the pipeline. And after everything runs, you get the artifacts here. And in the artifacts, you get a playwright report here. This is what it looks like when we're making a HTML report here with simple GIFs. So, okay, time's running a little bit. So that was about the playwright part. Maybe we can make a deep dive for future sessions here, because there are so many possibilities to show. Okay, I just must stop sharing. Next video to 1. Just one moment. So I'm gonna share again. Here. What you see here is that I created a Docker Compose where you also got a file with a JSON file with different URLs. And now you see the advantage of videos. I can just here skip fast forward, and you see here the results. So see, I'm testing a different website here, and you see here that on the guest system, on the host system, that the reports are gonna pop up here from Lighthouse and from Pelly. And everything directly from a Docker file. So everyone can start it when you got Docker on your desktop. Okay, so the last video here, because we're a little bit out of time, because we also got a little question and answer session here. Just one moment. Okay, that was the AI scanner part. I'm gonna share again. So what you will see here is a project with a GitHub recipe, which is really easy to implement. You just clone the repo, and you just need an token, AI token, and you just need to implement it as a secret in your repository options. And now I can move a little bit forward. You see, I cloned the repo here. And now the interesting thing is, when I start the workflow, it creates issues directly in GitHub, which is really interesting. Another idea is, maybe I will show it in other sessions, that it's easy to create a Jira issue directly from AI test or from the automated test itself. The time is rushing. So that's how it looks like. And what's really interesting that directly in the issues, they're really good documented with a lot of acceptance criteria. And that's how it looks like in the pipeline. Okay, that was the last video. Now I'm gonna stop the sharing and I will look in the questions and answers section. Just a moment. Q&A. I don't see any questions here right at the moment. So okay, first question here. What role will AI play in accessibility testing in the future? So I think AI will fundamentally change accessibility testing by bridging the gap between automated rules and human interpretation. Likely developments include semantic understanding, so AI can interpret the intent of UI components and detect issues that traditional rule engine miss, such as incorrect focus order, poor UX logic, misleading labels, or ambitious headings, or context-aware issue classifications. So AI can determine whether an issue is truly actionable, reduce false positives, and prioritizing based on real user impact. But you must also be aware with AI, because AI is mostly feed with human texts, and the accessibility consultants also got different opinions how to interpret some of the criteria. Some criteria are really clear, but some criteria are different ways how they're gonna see it. So the AI can't really see. Also, it's intelligent remediation for that. Okay, next question. How can we convince developers stakeholders of the value of automated accessibility testing? Yeah, it's all about business value and risk reduction. So highlight reduced legal risks like European Accessibility Act and lower long-term costs. Fixing issues earlier automatically is far cheaper than remedying it later. So prevention is always better than reaction. It's also something about developer productivity. So automated accessibility tests give developers immediate feedback in CI/CD, just like unit or security tests. So this reduces rework, ensures consistent quality, and frees teams from repetitive manual checks. So also improved user experience for everyone, because many accessibility improvements like better structure, clear labels, more consistent components benefits all users. And it's the same like error messages. I don't like it if I'm using an app and I don't know why it's not working. I don't know where's the problem. I don't know how to fix it. And when you got digital accessibility in mind, it's part of the test that you got clear error messages, and so that's we can all profit from this. So if there are no questions anymore, really thank you for patience. Thank you that you're interested in this topic, and I'm gonna develop further this little tool for giving better insight what you can do with these, and maybe I can also do another session where I can show the good commercial tools so that you can decide which fits best for you. Okay, so thank you very much, and I hope you got a wonderful day. So bye.